Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? Sorry about the issues. Spectrum is being mean to me, and so is OBS. So, I apologize for that. As you tell, I'm on the laptop. The computer is being dumb. Again, so gonna have to figure that one out. I apologize in advance. A bunch of technical difficulties having today, but this is basically the only day that I can do this. Without further ado, we're not alone. I'm gonna introduce our guest analyst, who is also a coach for the Elite Pokemon Championship, also known as the EPC. I want to thank you for bearing with me in these trying times. So I am going to unmute in our Discord call, and we'll get started. Hello. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing alright.
So, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
I am Brandon in the league. That's with 2 N's. I also coach the Oakland Adaptability this season.
Yes. So, real quick, the Oakland Adaptability is my team, but Brandon lacked a logo, and I had already committed to my Los Angeles X Scissors team, so I am letting him borrow the team, at least for this season. Without any further ado, let us go ahead and get into this recap. We're going to try and be as succinct as possible, because these can drone on for hours on end, and that's not what we're here for. So, first off, let's explain a little bit of rules. So, first off, rule number 1, there are 12 Mons that, which means there are going to be 12 rounds. As you see on your screen, 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 2 tier 3s, 2 tier 4s, and a tier 5 and a mega required, with 4 free slots, 400 points to choose across. And as you can see in the bold print, it says you must draft a tier 4 and a tier 5 before you can draft your free Mons. This is to make the drafting process a little bit more challenging, and a little bit more unique, rather than just be, insert league name here, clone number 758. So, I like this rule. Some of the coaches didn't, but this makes you at least somewhat plan out your draft. But I've droned on long enough about the rules, so we'll move on to pick number 1 of round number 1. So round number 1, we have Lunatic and his Brookhaven Bayonets. Will go ahead and pick up Excadrill. Brandon, why don't we talk a little bit about Excadrill going number 1 overall?
I mean, this is pretty common in any league as a number 1 overall. Ground Steel, it's really good just as a spinner. It can do Life Orb stuff. It can do Sand stuff. Overall, it's just pretty insane on pretty much any team. So going first pick overall is pretty expected.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have picked it.
Good pick.
I don't know if I would have picked it first, but it's there are definitely worse round 1 picks. So yeah, it's not bad. I don't know if I would have picked it first overall, but that's just me. Round 1, pick number 2 goes to Amp of the Bluffton Beehives, and he picks up Kieran Black. Now, in my opinion, this is more akin of a first overall. Everyone knows what KB does. Hits incredibly hard. Absolutely decimates anything on the physical side, and don't sleep on its special prowess. Brandon, wanna expand a little bit on KB?
KB can also be an excellent Z user with that's a bit of foreshadowing, but You had to select two Zmons, and he picked this as one of them, and that's probably one of the scariest in the whole league, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah, I mean,
if you do Z Hail, it boosts its own speed by a stage, and then can proceed to sweep you, basically.
yeah, the biggest weakness with all the Kirams are that they're slow. But I mean, Ice Dragon is, in my opinion, one of the most slept-on typings in the game. Alrighty, on to pick number 3. Then we have Jason of the St. James Slow Bros. He picks up Landorus Therian. This is another mon I would have expected to go first overall, and it is aptly nicknamed the Smogon players. Let's just call it favorite mon. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. You can interpret that however you will. I know there's dropped frames. I'm not looking at chat. I could pull up my phone and look at chat, but I'm assuming Brandon is probably doing that and seeing a lot of people complain about the dropped frames. I'm sorry about that. Spectrum Internet. There's not much I can do about that. Lado T, great Rocky Helmet user, great Scarfer. Knockoff is the best move in the game, and I'll fight anyone on that. Not really much more to say about Lando T. Everyone knows what this mon does. It does, like, 4 things, and it does all of those 4 things really well. Okay, pick number 4. We have Saber of the Arizona Arcanines, and his first pick, Scolipede. So that's the first tier 2 to go. Interesting. I don't know if I would have picked it in round 1. Brandon, do you want to speak a little bit on Scolipede?
Basically, it's sort of a hazard lead. It mostly uses speed boost, pretty much always uses speed boost. Basically, it sets up toxic spikes, sometimes regular spikes. Wait, does it have regular spikes? I don't remember, but basically, it definitely sets up toxic spikes, and sometimes it can baton pass speed with the focus sash, and I mean, it's a good mon, but round 1 pick, I don't know about that. But later, definitely this would have been amazing later on.
And it is worth noting that in the EPC for Season 2, you can pass any combination of stats as long as it's not speed, evasion, speed or evasion, and then you can also pass speed, but you can only pass speed with baton pass. So
yeah, as is probably the best speed passer, but
okay, on to pick number 5. Pick number 5 happens to be Garchomp, going to Shadow of the Independent Registeals. Ignore the fact that we just had Call of Duty music go in the background. I have my music on shuffle right now, so it's gonna play whatever it wants to play. Garchomp's kind of like Lando, in you kind of know what it's gonna do. It's gonna run Band or Scarf, maybe sometimes Yachi. Doesn't have D-Dance, so it can't set up, at least on the speed side. Pretty self-explanatory mon. Great design also, by the way. So that will be Shadow's pick in round 1. Round 1, pick number 6 will go to Brannon and the Oakland Adaptability. Once again, thank you, the Aster J, for that logo. Brannon, talk about Coco.
Base speed 130. That's kind of amazing. Electric Fairy is a good type, especially the former, as you'll see as my team develops. Yeah, this thing is fast and it can hit hard. You can throw Life Orb on it. I've even seen some sets run like a bulkier defog set with leftovers. Some even do dual screens with Light Clay. And basically, if you want something done and done quickly, this is basically one of your go-tos.
Yeah, Coco is definitely a mon. I would definitely, at some point, like to draft my boy Zulu, because that's my nickname for him, because Shaka Zulu. the historical figure. Yeah, he's just a great mon, and once again, real good design. Number 4. Wow. Around number 1, number 7, sorry. We have Pokecrafter of the Wyndham Weaviles picking up Megaladios, the first Mega to go. Megaladi, it does what it does. It hits really hard. Latias is a better Mega, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinions, but Latios still hits really hard, is pretty freaking bulky because of its HP and it getting the boost in. I think it gets a boost in both defenses when it Mega Evolves. Don't quote me on that, though. It gets faster. Just an all-around great Mega with a very diverse move pool.
Yeah, it hits harder than Mega Latias, so that's probably why I picked it.
Okay, on to the end of round 1, my pick. I picked up Clefable mainly because I don't want to get reverse setup on, because Clefable doesn't care about your setup with Unaware. And it's just a mon I've always wanted to draft, and have never really been able to draft it, unfortunately. So, I mean, Brandon, if you wanna elaborate on Clefable, you're more than welcome to.
It also has the ability Magic Guard, which basically, unless you hit it with a direct damaging move, it doesn't care about anything. It takes 0 damage from Toxic, from rocks, hazards. I think I might have already said Toxic, but like spikes, basic like weather effects such as sandstorm and hail. Yeah, it has both like 2 amazing abilities, and that's basically what carries it. But my God, does it carry it?
Yeah.
Along with the fairy typing, obviously.
Yeah, I think if it was still a normal type, it would not be as good as it is.
Yep.
Anyways, that's Clefable, probably one of the more questionable picks, but you'll see a theme, and it's mons that I either haven't used in a long time or you know, have wanted to use but haven't been able to draft. Had Coco not gone, I probably would have drafted Coco here instead. So, real quick, round 1 recap. The Brookhaven Bayonets drafted Excadrill. The Bluffton Beehives drafted Karen Black. The St. James Slowbro drafted Landorus Therian. The Arizona Arcanines drafted Scolipede. The Independent Ready Steels drafted Garchomp. The Oakland Adaptability drafted Tapu Koko. The Wyndham Weaviles drafted Megaladios. And the LAX Scissors drafted Clefable. Brandon, real quick, you want to give some picks that you like and some picks that you don't like?
Picks I like, basically all of them, except for the one pick I don't like was Scolipede. Scolipede is a great mon, but not round 1 good. I mean, your rules can make it so that you can kind of afford to do something sort of like that, but still, like, a lot of the good tier 1s typically go early, and Scolipede does not carry a team. Like, it's a good mon, don't get me wrong, but it just cannot, like, support and, like, define a team, basically.
Fair enough.
So that's my only real problem.
I would have to say the picks that I like the most are the Kieran Black, the Tapu Koko, and the picks that I do not like are the Excadrill and the Scolipede. Like you said, I don't necessarily think Excadrill is a first overall mon. Maybe a round 1 mon in a bigger league, but this is a smaller league. He could have gone easily for something like Kartana, which I think would have been a better round 1 pick than Excadrill, but if he's drafting Sand, it makes sense for him to draft that first overall.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on to round 2, yours truly. I picked up Entei. Entei's another mon that I have wanted to use for a long time. Sacred Fire is one of my favorite moves in the game. And it's just a mon I haven't been able to draft. So, Brandon, want to tell a little bit more about Entei and what Entei does?
It's moderately fast. Just hits really hard. And I mean, I've seen it used on bulkier teams and it worked out pretty well. So it has that going for it. It has just a lot of good things, and especially considering the speed, it's pretty good. But I mean, it's not perfect at one thing, but it does a lot of things very well, basically.
Yep, fair enough.
Because I've seen it used on bulkier teams as like the offensive punch.
Well,
Not falling over on hit.
yeah, it definitely doesn't fall over to most hits. Alright, now we're on to pick number 2 in round 2. Pokey Crafter of the Wyndham Weaviles will select Heatran. Want to tell me a little bit about Pokey's pick of Heatran?
What?
You want to tell a little bit more about what Heatran does?
Fire Steel with Flash Fire. That already is kind of insane. It can set up rocks, threatens out a lot, and is pretty bulky. Doesn't, besides ground moves, which it's kind of allergic to, doesn't take a lot of damage from pretty much anything else. Well, except for water, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And overall, it can set up rocks. I think I already said that.
Yeah.
And just is overall just in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good statement for Heatran. It is worth noting that he does have the Mega Latios with Levitate, so that
helps.
Yeah, that definitely does help. Alright, then Brandon, with your second pick, you pick up Ferrothorn. Why don't you go into a little bit more depth on Ferrothorn?
Grass Steel, it's an amazing physical ball with iron bombs. Sets up rocks, sets up spikes, sets up toxic, can knock off. It's also very in the way, and I've used it in like pretty much every league in season I've been in league format. So I'm just used to it, and it just kind of came back to just a staple of mine, is to just have it, and I've noticed I play extremely well with it, so there's that.
Alright, yep, Ferrothorn is definitely...
I picked it up.
Ferrothorn is definitely a top-tier mon. Okay, on to pick number 4 in round 2. Shadow of the Independent Registeals will pick up Florges. I don't know about Florges. I mean, it gives him a fairy for his Dragon Fairy Steel Core. It's a great special wall and a pretty devastating special attacker, but other than that, it kind of can only run like 6 moves. 6 to 8 moves depending on how good you are with this mon. So I don't know if this was the right fairy for him to choose, but I can definitely understand why he chose it.
Yeah, maybe it's for the special defense, but that's my only theory.
Yeah. On to pick number 2 for the Arizona Arcanines. Saber picks up Celesteela. Celesteela is pretty self-explanatory. It's the easiest mon to use in draft format. You have like 7 to 10 moves that you can use, and like 10 sets that you could run with those moves. It's just a great mon. All of its stats are good except for its speed, but its speed isn't terrible. It's not the slowest thing in the world, and you don't need to be fast when you're a steel flying type.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't pick this up round 1.
Yeah,
but at least you got to pick it up in round 2, so
yeah,
lucky him.
Yeah, this is true. Keep in mind that the reason you're not seeing so many tier 1s go right now is because you have to draft a tier 4 and a tier 5 before you can pick up your free mons. Those were the only rules, so you could technically, in theory, pick up a tier 4, pick up a tier 5 round 1, and then just pick all of your high tier mons and get them out of the way. But that, as you'll see, that didn't really happen that early in the draft. People wanted to get their core pieces first and build around that. Third, you have Jason of the St. James Slowbro. He ends up drafting Mega Theoncy. Another mon that I've really wanted to use, but every single time I've tried to draft it, it's gotten sniped from me. So, I didn't go for it because I knew it'd get sniped from me. So, Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about Mega Deontay?
Rock Fairy Magic Bounce, which makes it excellent for hazard manipulation in general, like stealth rocks, even like toxic or any form of status drift on it that gets chucked right back. Status moves get reflected too, like in terms of like stat reducing moves. So, but even still, it has a pretty good base speed of I believe 100. It has really good mixed offenses, pretty good defenses. I mean, anything that's steel just kills it though, but besides that, I mean, it's overall pretty good.
Yeah.
And his team at the very least has a theme, so I don't know if this was intended, but the fact that he picked up this mega specifically really makes sense.
Yeah, he is at the moment pretty water weak, so maybe he could patch that up here in the near future, but we will see. On to pick number 2 for Amp of the Bluffton Beehives. He's going to pick up Glycopod. So, as I said before, you have to pick up a tier 4 and a tier 5 before you could pick up your free tiered mons. So, the first lower tiered mon to go is Glycopod. I can speak a little bit about Glycopod. It's basically used as a scarer, kind of like a phaser. It's really bulky and hits really hard on the physical side, not to mention it has good priority in both Sucker Punch and First Impression. It can reliably gain its health back in Leech Life. The only issue with Glycopod that holds it back is its ability emergency exit, which forces it to go out if it drops to half or lower HP. The good news is there are items and sets that you can run that can try to limit that, but any super effective move is going to force it to swap out, unfortunately.
Is the swap random, or can you choose what you go into?
I'm pretty sure you choose. I haven't used Glycopod in a minute. I'm pretty sure you get to choose. So it's not even that bad, but it just sucks because it makes you possibly lose momentum.
Yeah.
But it's a really good physical hitter, so he's got 2 great physical wall breakers in Kieran Black and Glycopod. Both of them are not fast. Kieran Black isn't slow, but it's not fast. So hopefully he can get some higher speed tiered mons and some special attackers in here soon. He did pick up a physical wall in Glycopod, so hopefully he can get a special wall here sometime in the near future. Pick number 2 for Lunatic of the Brookhaven Bayonets is going to be Zeraora. Zeraora is one of those mons that I think is very, like Infernape is very much one of those tier 1.5 mons. In the right hands, it's a tier 1 mon. In the wrong hands, it's still a tier 2. So, Brandon, if you want to speak a little bit more about Zeraora.
It's just really, really fast. Has pretty good physical attack. Plasma Fists makes normal moves basically do nothing because of Volt Absorb, which basically gives it an electric immunity. So, it's somewhat simple, like, in terms of, like, what it does, but just doing that is pretty tricky.
Yeah, it's another one of those mons, sort of like Weavile, that can only run maybe, like, 5-6 moves, but it does what it does really well. So, round 2 recap real quick. You have the LAX Scissors grabbing Entei, the Wyndham Weaviles getting Heatran, the Oakland Adaptability getting Ferrothorn, the Independent Registeels getting Florges, the Arizona Arcanides getting Celesteela, the St. James Slowbros getting Mega Deontay, the Bluffton Beehives getting Glycopod, and the Brookhaven Bayonets grabbing Zeraora. Brandon, would you like to say a couple picks you like and a couple picks you do not like?
I'm probably going to go with the steals on this one and say Heatran and Steelo were the best picks of this round. I mean, Mega Deontay's up there too, but overall, those are just like value bombs and just very generally bulky or can hit hard and somewhat fast in the case of Deontay. What I didn't like Glycopod, I get why he picked it, but why this early? Because tier 2s are probably going to be going soon. So, like, if you see everyone drafting, like, megas / tier 1s really early, you're kind of forced to follow them or risk losing mons that you could use on your team very well, but can't because you went for tier 4 really early.
Yeah, I'm gonna
But
say.
it's not bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my favorite picks are probably the Zeraora and the Celesteela. Celesteela, like you said, is great value at round 2. This is a smaller league, so even if Celesteela did go round 1, it's still possible he could have grabbed something like Kartana, which is still amazing value at round 2. Zeraora is always one of those mons that goes in the first 3 rounds, because it just does what it does so well. And it basically shuts down 90% of electric types. Sort of like what Jolteon does. Jolteon shuts down basically 90% of electric types. Good mon. Those 2 picks are my favorite. I don't necessarily hate the Glycopod pick. The pick I will say that I like the least is the Florges. I think he could have gotten a better fairy, maybe a Mimikyu, maybe an Alolan Ninetales, which was there. But I understand why he picked the Florges, so I don't think it's a bad pick. It's just my least favorite in this round.
Yeah, Alolan Ninetales would have been a good one.
Yeah. Round 3, we have Lunatic. He will pick up Araquanid, kind of following with the tier 4. I think Araquanid is actually a much better tier 4 than Glycopod, just because Glycopod can sometimes lose your momentum, which is huge. Brandon, why don't you talk a little bit about Araquanid?
Water Bubble is basically self-contained rain for itself, which is weird on paper, but in practice it's pretty simple. Basically, fire moves get halved, water moves get doubled, and it has pretty high defenses, which you wouldn't expect for a design like that, but here we are. So it has really high special defense and pretty high defense, I think. But its HP is a little lacking, but overall it's pretty solid defensively, and as you said, doesn't lose your momentum, so good job.
Yeah, it gets things like Leech Life, Lunge, Knockoff. I think it gets Knockoff, it might not. I know it gets Crunch. It gets, what is it, Spiderwebs. So he has some sticky webs. Yeah, sorry, Spiderwebs. Wow. So he's got some speed control. Yeah, not much more. On to pick number 2 for the Bluffton Beehives, we have Necrozma, one of the most slept-on Z users, in my opinion. Necrozma's pretty bulky. It hits pretty hard on the special side. Sorry, I just had an interruption. Yeah, not really much more to say on Necrozma. Pretty much everyone knows what Necrozma does. It sits there, beats a wall, sometimes it can phase, sometimes it can stall, sometimes it can sweep, because it's got a multitude of boosting moves across all of its stats.
Such as Stealth Rock.
Yeah. So Necrozma is just a good mon. Then we have...
Didn't he make this his other Z user?
No, I don't think he did. I can't remember. We'll get to that later. So Druddigon goes for the St. James Slowbro. Once again, you're starting to see people start picking lower tier mons, trying to not get sniped, because now that, you know, people are getting their lower tier mons, people are kind of forced to follow suit, just like the higher tier stuff, to make sure their snipes don't go. I don't know about Druddigon. There were much better tier 4s and much better dragons still on the board, but I mean, it's a fairly decent physical wall, and you can run Rocky Helmet Rough Skin, which is always pretty nice. But it's...
Yeah, I was about to mention that.
It's not much else. So then we have Saber picking up Alolan Marowak. Alolan Marowak is real slow, but hits like a freaking truck. Sort of similar to like Marshadow, except, you know, it's not as fast and not as good of an offensive typing. Its offensive typing is really fantastic because not a lot resists both Ghost and Fire. Not to mention it gets things like Stomping Tantrum, you know,
Thick Club as a whole.
yeah, Thick Club. Like, this mon just hits real hard. Not much more to it. It's slow. It's fairly bulky. Yeah. Okay, on to Shadow. His next pick is Jolteon. Like we said earlier with Zeraora, Jolteon kind of just shuts down 90% of other electric types. Unless they're running HP Ground, which kind of limits them against ground types for the most part. So they're probably not going to be running HP Ground, which means Jolteon can swap in, do whatever the heck it's meant to do, because sometimes people like to get cute with Jolteon and run some pretty off-the-wall sets. That's what it's there for. It's for more electric type control, I believe. And it's also just an electric itself, so he didn't really necessarily need it, but he took it basically because he didn't want anyone else to have it, I think.
130 speed.
Yeah, 130 speed. So it gives him a fast mon, and fixes his speed tiers up a little bit, because Florges is slow. Garchomp isn't necessarily fast, but Garchomp also isn't slow, so... you, Brandon, picked up Arcanine. Everyone knows what Arcanine does. It either sweeps or it sits there and is a wall. Not really much.
Yeah.
Not really much more else to Arcanine, really, to be honest. Pokecrafter then picks up Licky Licky. Probably one of, if not the bulkiest, Wish Passer in the league. It is just an incredibly fat mon, but it doesn't really do much of anything else. It can Gyro Ball. I can't remember if it gets Rapid Spin or not. I think it gets Rapid.
Not.
It does not. Okay. So, it gets Gyro Ball, Body Slam, and then Wish, Baton Pat. It's not going to be doing much, but it's there for another wall. So I think we're seeing a theme with Pokecrafter's team right now is that he's grabbing really bulky mons.
Doesn't Licky Licky have Unaware?
I cannot remember.
Mistaken.
I cannot remember. I've never drafted Licky Licky.
I know for a fact it has Cloud9, which basically kind of puts a halt to any weather team shenanigans.
Yeah. It is, in fact, weather control. And then...
As we shall see later.
On to my pick. I'm going to pick up... Guys, you know I had to do it. You know I had to pick up the mascot in Metagross. You know I had to. It's been so long since I've used Metagross. The last time I used Metagross was in Gen 6, right after Oris was released and Mega Metagross was not banned in most leagues. You know how much I put in work with Mega Metagross. Unfortunately... Steel-type nerf kind of sucks, which is why he's only a Tier 3 mon. If this Steel-type nerf didn't exist, he would be a Tier 1 mon. Still, because he was just that good. But Steel Psychic is still a great typing. It's fat mon, it hits hard, isn't necessarily slow. If I wanted to, I could run him Scarfed and catch some people off guard. Metagross is a great Pokemon. Not much else to say. He's real versatile too. If I wanted to, I could run, you know, defensive double dance, you know, like Iron Defense, Agility, Meteor Mash, then Headbutt. Metagross is just a great mon. Not to mention Explosion. Yep. So, round 3 recap, we have Araquanid, Necrozma, Druddigon, Alolan Marowak, Arcanine. Why is Arcanine on there twice? I don't know.
Jolteon.
Jolteon, yeah, Jolteon, Arcanine, Licky Licky, Metagross. Brandon, why don't you say what picks you like and do not like?
So I'll just get the negative out of it. Don't like Druddigon. Yeah, it's just. I mean, maybe it's roll compaction, but I mean, there's better tier 4s and the better dragons, as you've said before. I mean, unless he specifically wants to like maximize its physical defense for like Rocky Helmet Rough Skin, I don't see why you picked it. But best pick overall, for this round, there's a lot of really good picks this round. I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably have to give it to Licky Licky.
Really?
Because normally I normally say I don't like tier 4s this early, but the thing is, it's really bulky Wish Passer, which, as you'll see eventually with his team, goes really well with his team and the theme behind it. And the fact that it has weather control kind of puts a stop to two teams, one especially, of like their weather strategies. And having all of that on one mon is insane, and it might have Unaware, I'm not sure.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna go out and say that Necrozma was my favorite pick, and like you, the pick I like the least is the Druddigon. Not really much more to say. I'm gonna try and start speeding this up so that we can get done faster and keep y'all less preoccupied on a Monday night. So, my fourth pick is Gastrodon. Brandon, tell us about Gastrodon.
So funny you picked the EC form. Water Ground has Storm Drain, I believe, which basically gives it a water immunity. Water Ground's pretty solid. It's just kind of a wall and just sits there and does defensive things really well.
Toxic,
and
Clear Smog.
Toxic, yeah. Considering it only has one weakness and an immunity, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
pretty simple, just staple.
Yep, definitely. That's why I picked up Gastrodon. Not much else to say on Gastrodon. Let's move on. Crustle goes for the Wyndham Weavile. Now he can freely pick his Fremons should he choose to do so, as he has met the Tier 4 and the Tier 5 requirement. Crustle is pretty much either a wall or a shell smash user. Excuse me, sorry about the burp. Not much else that Crustle can do. Bug Rock inherently is not a bad typing, but there hasn't been a Bug Rock that can really take advantage of its typing. Both it and Armo, though, do not do either one of those things that well. Then we have Brandon. You're going to end up picking Tornadus Incarnate. Why don't you tell us about why you chose Tornadus Incarnate?
It has Defiant and Prankster as its only two abilities, which are both just really insane in their own different ways. It's a pure flying type because I kind of wanted a flying type. It can do Life Orb things really well. It can do a sort of Z support-ish set. It has, I believe it has the strongest Hurricanes in the game. So there's that. And you can also hit people with Heat Wave. You can even do some with Prankster Tailwind, Prankster Defog, that sort of thing. Prankster Status, which there's no T-Wave sadly, but Toxic works. Yeah, overall it's pretty fast at 111, and overall it's just, I mean, it's not really defensive, but then again, it's kind of not supposed to be. So yeah, overall I like this pick a lot.
Alright, on to the next pick. We have Mienshao going to the Independent Registeals. Mienshao's pretty self-explanatory. Has Regenerator, hits really hard. U-turn high jump kicks are devastating with this Mon. If he wanted to, he could even run like a pseudo bulky like Assault Vest set to check Psychics that might outspeed or might be able to eat a hit from it. Overall, Mienshao is just a great Pokemon. Then we're on to the first tier 4 for the Arizona Arcanines in Beware. Now, I really, really love this Beware pick. I'm just going to say it right now. Normal Fighting is a great typing, not to mention Fur Coat, which gives it, like, insane defense. Its special defense isn't terrible, so you could run AV. It hits incredibly hard with hammer arms and returns. So on and so forth. It's just a great one.
The ability is fluffy.
Oh, it's fluffy, my bad.
It doubles its defense. It doubles its defense, but gives it a rock weakness. I only know that because I was researching Fur Coat and by extension Beware the other day, so that's the only reason I remember that.
See, you know, they're basically the same ability. It just gives them the weakness to a different type.
Fire, yeah.
So yeah. Beware is a great mon.
Pretty good.
Okay, on to the St. James Slowbro. They're going to pick up their tier 5 in Steelix. Steelix is going to be a hazard setter and a physical wall. Not much else that it's going to be doing because it doesn't have the speed or physical attack stat to really do much of anything else. It does get Heavy Slam and Gyro Ball, which are important things to note, but not much else. Other than Lando T, I mean, even with this Steelix picks, he's picking up a huge weakness to water at this moment. Dredagon's a resistance, but Dredagon is not going to live coverage Ice Beam. So, he really needs to start patching up his water weakness in the future rounds. Amp is going to be picking up Roheat for his first tier 3. Roheat, not much else. It's what all the Rotoms does. It gets Defog, it can trick, Thunder Wave, and all of them get Defog. So, Levitate, yeah, not much else to really say about Roheat. Everyone knows what Roheat does. And on to the final pick for round 4, Passimian goes to the Brookhaven Bayonets. Keep in mind, Passimian and Oranguru just got their other abilities, and I believe Passimian's secondary ability is Defiant. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's Defiant.
Yeah.
Which gives it a pretty good ability. And the only reason it's tier 5 right now is because in past experience, Passimian's one of the better tier 5s, but it kind of gets lost in the shuffle in tier 4 sometimes. I don't know if that will happen with Defiant. Maybe next season we'll bump it up to tier 4, but it's there for now. So round 4 recap. The LAX Scissors get Gastrodon, Wyndham Weavile get Crustle, Oakland Adaptability get Tornadus Eye, Independent Registeels get Mienshao, the Arizona Arcanines get Beware, the St. James Slowbro gets Steelix, the Bluffton Beehives get Roheat, and the Brookhaven Bayonets get Passimian. Brandon, why don't you say a couple picks you like and a couple picks you do not like?
Don't like? There's not many I don't like this round. I mean, I guess, I'd have to give it to Steelix, I guess, only because it's slow. But at the very least, it does something. But, as you mentioned before, the water weakness is not good. And something a smidge faster, or did something, like, different, I guess, or something more unique. Because you can get good rockers that are bulky in tier 5, or better electric immunities in tier 5. Favorite pick, I gotta say, I think Passimian may be the best tier 5 pick of the draft. Because it's pretty fast, it hits hard, it has Defiant, which helps because it's a physical attacker. But overall, my favorite pick of this round, probably either have to be Beware or Roheat.
Yeah, fair enough. So we are on. Wait, what?
Beware just fits his team so snugly.
Beware fits a lot of teams so snugly, to be fair, though.
Yeah.
Like, Beware is one of those glue mons that can really take a pretty mediocre team and just kind of put it together, because Beware is such a threat offensively and defensively. It just kind of sits there for the most part.
Yeah.
Alright, on to round 5. So now, with this pick, Lunatic revealed that he plans on drafting Sand because he drafts Mega Tyranitar. Not much else to say. It's Tyranitar, but it doesn't get the opportunity to run the items that Tyranitar can run. That being said, it's bulkier, faster, and hits harder. So that's what Mega Tyranitar is going to do. It's going to set the Sand, because it is possible for him to bring normal Tyranitar with, a nerve?
A nerve, yeah.
Unnerve, to make it so that people can't eat berries and stuff. Not necessarily a Mega Evolve, but, bring someone into, Citrus Berry range, and then Mega Evolve, and then kill the Mon before it has a chance to eat the berry, because it eats the berry at the end of the turn. So there's some really cutesy stuff that he could do with Mega Tyranitar, but ultimately, once again, not really seeing much of a ground swap in. I mean, Araquanid's there, and it can be physically bulky, but it's really, Araquanid's more so known for its special bulk.
Special, yeah.
And with rock type coverage, Araquanid's just gonna fall over.
Yep.
So he really needs to patch the rock and the ground type weakness in the immediate future. Even fighting can run rampant on his team. Like I said, I know Araquanid's there, but rock type coverage is a thing on a lot of fighting types. So, yeah. Moving on to Sarina, or T-Sarina. I can't remember how they pronounced it in the anime, but this Mon has given me nightmares. This Mon can be deceptively extremely bulky, and it has great coverage, as well as rapid spin.
Yep.
So this Mon is another great glue Mon for Amp, and I can totally see why he picked it up here. On to the next pick. The St. James Slowbro pick up Rotom Wash, which does give him another ground immunity, and does give him finally another water resist, but I don't know if that's enough to really bring the team together. Once again, we know what all the Rotoms do. They can trick, they have defog. Instead of Roheat, this one has Hydro Pump. It's the best.
And a water type.
Yep, it's a water type, so it's the best pure typing of all the Rotoms, considering it's only weak to grass, and freeze dry, and 1,000 arrows after it's been knocked down, or mold break or earthquake.
Yeah.
Not really much more to say on any of the Rotoms. We kind of all know what the Rotoms do. And next you have the Arizona.
I'm surprised Rowash was not the first Rotom picked up.
Yeah. On to round 5, we have Saber picking up his tier 5, so now he can go and pick up free Mons. In Rhydon, Rhydon's kind of like Beware, it's just there as kind of a physical wall of Violite. His team is fairly knockoff weak, because Celesteela is going to want to run Assault Vest sometimes, and that's not going to be great. Alola Marowak doesn't want to get knocked off because of Thick Club, makes that thing an absolute bruiser. Beware is going to run a one Assault Vest or Lefties. Rhydon is going to want to run a Violite every time it gets brung, so his team's a real knockoff week. Hopefully he can patch that up in the future. Shadow is going to pick up a Selgor, another really fast Mon, so I really like how his speed tiers are coming around so far. Florges is the only quote-unquote slow Mon, and it's a special bruiser and a special wall. So a Selgor is really fast, can be a good suicide lead. We'll see what he plans to do with the Selgor. On to Brandon. You're going to pick up your tier 5 in Kabutops. Why don't you explain a little bit why you chose Kabutops over maybe some of the other tier 5s?
I wanted a spinner, and it's a great spinner. Also, it's not rock weak, which is really nice. You don't want your removal to be rock weak. And also, it has battle armor, which can prevent crits. And yeah, crits just suck.
Yeah, crits do in fact suck. Definitely not a bad mon. Kabutops is one of those tier 5s that either goes or doesn't go. It's kind of always on the edge.
Yeah, you forgot to put it on the spreadsheet even, which was funny.
Oh, I'm sorry. Regardless, we have Pokecrafter picking up Tapu Bulu, so he will be the first one to dip into free tiered mons. All I'm gonna say is this team is already looking ridiculously fat. Bulu Megalotti Heatran is just disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
But I will stand by my statement and say that Bulu is the worst Tapu. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean,
it just is. In my personal
being
opinion.
the worst Tapu is still pretty good.
Yeah, all of them are real good. So, on to my pick, and I'm going to pick up regular form Rotom. That gives me a ground immunity, someone who can Will-O-Wisp, and possibly Trick, Trick Scarfs, Thunder Wave, gives me a Ghost. Not really much to say. Rotom is just kind of here to kind of be support and disruption. Because that's the only thing that regular Rotom can do consistently well.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, round 5 recap, we have Mega Titar, Serena, Rotom Wash, Rhydon, Aselgor, Kabutops, Tapu Bulu, and Rotom. I already know what you're going to say in terms of what picks you like, but what picks do you like and what picks do you not like?
I honestly don't... Is it bad that I don't have a pick that I don't like this round? Because all of them are really good.
I mean, fair enough.
If any, Rotom, because it doesn't have the best space stat total. But even then, I see why you picked it up.
Yeah. Alright, fair enough. I think the only pick that I dislike is the Rhydon, because, like I said, that team, as of right now, keep in mind we don't announce Z captains until post-draft. Rhydon and that entire team are incredibly knockoff weak. So, other than that, I think all the picks are valid. And Rhydon's still not a bad pick anyways, so. On to round 6.
Bulky Rocker.
Yeah, Bulky Rocker. I am going to be picking up Nihilego. That's going to give me an Ultra Beast. Brandon, why don't we speak a little... You could speak a little bit about Nihilego.
Rock poison, so it doesn't want to be touched by a ground move. It's really good at rocks. It can do focus sash stuff. It's pretty fast too, so it can do special attacking stuff. I think it can also set up toxic spikes, can it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so it just sets up hazards. It can potentially hit really hard. It's fast. Unique typing, which is pretty good except for ground hits. You don't want to get whacked by a ground type. But overall, it's a pretty solid mon. Beast Boost can actually be defensive for this mon if you want it to be.
Yep.
But yeah.
Alright.
Pretty good pick overall.
Alright, so Nihilego goes. Pokecrafter's going to pick up Milotic. I'm just not even going to talk about Milotic because everyone who's ever played Draft League knows what Milotic does and probably has nightmares about it. That mon is fat. Oh my goodness. That mon is fat.
That fire water grass core, oh god.
So, I think you're seeing the theme. Beating the wall.
The only thing that might be able to beat that core is a full-blown rain team.
Yeah.
And even then, it's gonna struggle.
Alrighty, so your pick, you pick up Cryogonal. Everyone knows what Cryogonal does. It gets knockoff, it gets explosion. Its main thing is freeze dry. and coverage.
It rapid spins.
Yeah, and it spins, so it gives you.
I mainly picked it up as another spinner, which, like a lot of the teams don't have the best removal, so I wanted to ensure. Also, it levitates, so that's kind of nice.
Yep, so it gives you another ground immunity. Cryogonal's just one of those underappreciated tier 4 mons, in my opinion.
Funny you mentioned freeze dry. I also kind of picked it up for that too a little bit, but yeah, you'll see when my team develops.
So then we have Shadow picking up Miltank. It seems like he's gonna be just getting his mandatory mons out of the way and then worrying about megas and free mons afterwards. Miltank, everyone knows what Miltank does. Back in the day, it used to give people nightmares at Whitney's gym. Now it's just the wall.
Roll out.
That sits there and hits you with stab body slams until you are paralyzed. That's what Miltank does, and it's fairly annoying. Roll out onto the Arizona Arcanines, and they are going to pick up Xi 50. So once again, we said not necessarily water weak, but ice coverage and water types and knockoff users are really looking like a problem for Saber's team right now, because Zygarde does not want to get its Yachi Berry knocked off or its Lum Berry knocked off, or I can't remember if it's a Z user, but if it's a Z user then it doesn't matter. But the issue is he's not going to be able to run.
Scarf or Band.
Yeah, Scarf or Band. Zygarde really, more than any other, in my opinion, more than any other dragon type, really does not want to get its item knocked off.
Yep.
So, knockoff is looking like a big problem for his team. The good news is his team is fairly fat physically, so knockoff's not going to do that much, but it's going to cripple him as of right now. Alrighty, so the St. James Slowbros, they're going to pick up Tangrowth. That gives them a bulky grass with Regenerator. That mon can be quite annoying to deal with, and like we said, that this will probably effectively, at least for now, patch up his water weakness, because even with ice type coverage, for the most part, not gonna knock out a Tangrowth.
Also Regenerate.
Well, I already said Regenerator.
Oh, okay. It kind of cut out on my end. But anyways.
Amp is going to pick up Kangaskhan. He's probably only going to be running Scrappy, let's be honest. That's what it's there for. Scrappy Mon. That's all that Kanga does, really. It's unfortunately not as good.
Kanga does.
Yeah, it's not as good as it was back in Gen 1 and 2, unfortunately. On to the Brookhaven Bayonets. They are going to follow in my footsteps and grab an Ultra Beast, and they're going to pick up Blacephalon. Z Blacephalon is a threat. Z Mind Blown hits incredibly hard. It's fast. It hits hard. It can even be run physical if he wants to, because its physical stat isn't terrible. It's just really frail. But gives him some more speedy mons to maybe outspeed some of the ground types that would otherwise cause him a problem. Even though it's still weak to ground itself, most ground types are not going to want to eat a Hidden Power Ice or Hidden Power Water from this thing.
Yeah.
Especially if it's Z. So, on to round 6, we have Nihilego, Milotic, Cryogonal, Miltank, Xi 50, Tangrowth, whichever you prefer to pronounce it, Kangaskhan, and Blacephalon. Brandon, what are some of your favorite and least favorite picks here?
Least favorite, probably either Miltank, Kanga, but I'm leaning more towards Kanga. Mostly because besides Scrappy, what are you doing with that? And a burn kind of just ends your day. At least ends its day. I mean, it's alright, but you probably could have picked up something a little better. which is basically tier 5 in a nutshell. Most liked, I'd either have to say either Blacephalon or Zygarde 50, with Cryogonal being a third.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think there's any... What?
Especially Cryogonal with hindsight. Because, yeah, you mentioned a little move called Freeze Dry. That'll be in play later. And it's one of the not only fastest users of it, but strongest too. So I'm kind of glad I picked it up for myself.
Alrighty, so onward to round 7. The Brookhaven Bayonets are gonna pick up exactly that. They're gonna pick up Roserade. Great T-Spikes users. Poison Grass is one of the most slept on typings in the game. Granted, the best Poison Grass is Mega Venusaur, and there aren't really any others that really come out at you except for Roserade, but it's an incredible defensive typing, and Roserade is fairly fast, fairly bulky on the pretty bulky on the special defensive side, and hits really hard on the special attack side. Not really much more. I think he's just trying to patch up that ground weakness right now, because he just drafted another Mon that's weak to ground. He finally got a Mon other than Excadrill and Passimian that can deal with rock or fighting type coverage. So,
yeah,
good pick on his end. Then we're going to go into Amp. He's going to draft his first free Mon in Skarmory. Want to tell us a little bit about Skarmory, Brandon?
Did someone say hazards? Because that's what... Basically, it sets up rocks, it sets up spikes, it can whirlwind and basically phase things into said hazards. It can also defog to remove hazards on its side of the field, though it doesn't do that a ton, because it doesn't want to remove the hazards it's set up. Basically, it's also a physical wall, and Steel Flying is a good type, as said before. And that combined with its physical tankiness, yeah, makes it pretty valuable on any team it's on.
Yeah, fair enough. Alrighty, on to the St. James Slowbros. He's gonna pick up Venomoth. Don't know about this Mon. I haven't seen Venomoth used a lot, but I do know it has, what is it, tinted lens? No, compound eyes. I think it might be tinted lens. I can't remember. But this Mon
also has Quiver Dance.
Yeah, this Mon has Quiver Dance, so it can be a pretty decent late game sweeper if, you know, like fighting types are, or well, not fighting types, if like rock types are gone.
Yeah.
So, that's about all for Venomoth. On to the Arizona Arcanines. They're going to be picking up Mega Gardevoir. Before you get me on this picture, I searched for 20 minutes and could not find a true PNG that was appropriate to put on a stream, so I'm sorry. Why don't you say a little bit about Mega Gardevoir?
Base 100 speed, Psychic Fairy. It's pretty good offensively. It has decent bulk, but mostly, yeah, it just hits really hard and can take a hit or two. And is base 100 is pretty much your average. I mean, it ain't fantastic for a Mega, but I mean, it's a pretty good Mega.
Alright.
Like, you can't really go wrong with it.
Yeah, Mega Gardevoir is just a good Mega all around. Good tier 1 Mega. Alright, on to the independent Registeels picking Komala. Now, the only reason I would foresee him getting Komala is that it gives him status dodging and another spinner. Or a spinner. I don't like this pick. Yeah, it can spin. It does get rapid spin.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I don't like this pick at all. He's already got a Miltank. It does not make sense. I mean, you know he's got a Florges and an Acelgor right there that don't really care about fighting type moves, but, you know, fighting type coverage is fairly common in League formats, so I do not like this pick at all. Brandon, you're going to pick up Goodra. We know enough about Goodra. It has hydration, it has sap sipper, it hits incredibly hard on the special side. It eats hits on the special defensive side. It can even get cutesy with things like Dragon Tail. It has amazing coverage. It's just an all-around good mon.
Yeah, wait, what? Oh, Gujo was a tier 2 FA. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly picked it up for the special defensive side, but yeah, it also has to pick up later. So yeah, that's why I picked it. Also, it's a dragon type that's bulky, which is pretty rare.
Alright, on to Pokecrafter, the Wyndham Weavouts. He's going to pick up Machamp. We know about Machamp. Machamp would be an amazing Pokemon if it had, like, 25 more speed. It's just a good Pokemon. No guard, dynamic punches. People are going to have to dodge that all day long. Because that's just what's going to happen. It's relatively bulky on the physical side, although if it's not running Assault Vest, it's going to fall over if you hit it with the super effective move on the special side. Not much more to say about Machamp.
Somebody say Psychic?
Somebody say Psychic. On to my pick in Cobalion. In hindsight, I realized there was a better pick at this point in time than Cobalion. But I kind of panicked because I had been sniped a couple of times. Cobalion's still a great mon. 108 speed, 129 defense. Is a great Z user. And is the reason I made it a Z captain. Iron Head, Volt Switch, and what is it? What's its ability again? I'm brain farting.
Justified.
Justified. Thank you. I don't know why I brain farted on what its ability was called. So anytime it's hit with a dark move, its attack goes up by 1 stage? Or is it speed?
Yeah. No, it's attack.
Okay. So, gives me a mon that does not care about knockoffs, which is something that things like Clefable and Metagross and Gastrodon do not want to have happen to them. Even Nihilego, because if Nihilego gets knocked off, it's probably dead. So,
yeah.
Gives me a mon that's basically impervious to knockoff. So yeah. So to recap, round 7, we have Roserade, Skarmory, Venomoth, Mega Guard, Komala, Goodra, Machamp, and Cobalion. Brandon, why don't you tell us some picks that you like and some picks that you don't like?
Going with the theme of getting the negative out of the way first, Kamala. You already have a normal type. Why did you pick another one? I mean, not good on you that it spins, but there's better spinners available.
Yeah.
And for picks I do like, I would either have to say Skarmory because before I know how devastating the thing can be. Roserade's also another pretty good pick. Mostly for the same reasons and providing good resistances. Can't believe I'm saying that about a grass type, but anyways. And probably Machamp, because Poke doesn't have a ton of offensive power at this point, and he picked that up.
Yeah, he definitely...
Because no guard, dynamic punches, oof.
Yeah. Alrighty, so, on to round 8. I'm going to pick up a Alolan Muck. This is another mon that I kind of panic-picked. I needed a dark, and I realized that there is a better dark available, but I looked through the dock too hastily. I was at work at the time that I made this pick. So, Alolan Muck is here. I realized at this point I'm going to really have to start patching up my ground weakness, because ground type coverage, which a lot of physical mons get in Earthquake or Bulldoze, really presents a problem for me. But Alolan Muck is a very, very fat mon. It has Gluttony. It has Poison Touch, which means if you hit Muck, you can get poisoned. If you contact Muck, you can get poisoned. Just let that sink in. If you touch him, you could possibly get poisoned.
I mean, for a panic dark type pick, I got other dark types in the format. I like it a lot personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Again, yeah, it's bulky, can knock off, doesn't like just hard counter psychics.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty good.
Alrighty. On to Pokecrafter in the Wyndham Weavbats. He's going to pick up Crobat. Crobat, everyone knows what Crobat does. It is either bulky support, late game special sweeper, or like a banded, like just banded. Crobat doesn't really do a whole bunch of anything. Kind of has like 4 or 5 sets that it can use, but does all of those things pretty well.
And it's fast.
And it's fast. It is very fast, which he previously, other than Megaladios, did not have a fast mon. So that gives him some better speed tiers. Not much more to say. On to you. You're going to pick up Toxicroak. I think we're starting to see a theme develop here with Toxicroak. Dry Skin. Poison Fighting is a great offensive typing. Terrible defensive typing. But
yeah,
it's fast enough. Yeah, it's fast enough. It should be able to make up for that sometimes.
Yeah,
on to
basically.
On to the independent Registeals. He's going to pick up Jirachi. Once again, another Wish Passer. And everyone knows the nightmares that are Iron Head Body Slam Jirachi because of Serene Grace.
Serene Grace, I hate that ability.
As you should.
Oy.
Not much more to say about Jirachi. Jirachi is Mew, just with the slightly worse typing, and a better ability, and a better move pool to suit its ability. So, everyone knows what Jirachi does. He's probably going to try to hack some people out. On to the Arizona Arcanines. He's going to pick up his second dragon, which is interesting, in Hydreigon. He doesn't necessarily have a quote-unquote fairy check, because some fairies can run HP Fire. Both of his quote-unquote fairy checks are actually weak to HP Fire. So, I don't know if I necessarily like this pick, but we all know what Hydreigon does. It hits incredibly hard, and it has Levitate. So,
On the special side.
yeah.
What's interesting is that both of his dragons cover both offenses, because Zygarde does physical and Hydreigon does special.
Mm-hmm.
He probably won't bring both the same week. I just have a prediction.
I don't. His team, both of his quote-unquote fairy checks are, at least as of right now, are weak to HP Fire, so I don't think it's going to happen either. On to round 8, the mon I wish I would have picked. Jason of the St. James Slowbros picks up Umbreon. I panicked, didn't scroll all the way down while I was at work, and forgot Umbreon was still around, so that's a bit of a blunder on my part. Umbreon's just going to be annoying. He can stall with it, he can sweep with it, he can use it as support, a Wish Passer. Umbreon's just an all-around great mon.
Yeah, it's just overall in the way.
On to the Bluffton Beehives, finally getting a mon over 100. He's going to end up picking up Gengar. Gengar has...
Many dropped.
That's a discussion for a different video.
Anyways,
Gengar hits incredibly hard, is pretty dang fast, but is also pretty frail. But to make up for its frailness, its move pool is extremely diverse. You know it's probably going to be running Ghost Stab every single week, but you don't know if it's going to be running Poison Stab every week, because its move pool is just that diverse, and you actually have no idea. So Gengar is a great Pokemon, and that's why he picked up Gengar. And unfortunately lost Levitate. So yeah, that sucks a little bit.
I mean, it gives Miss Magius a reason to exist.
Yeah. There is the Brookhaven Bayonets, and they're going to pick up Flygon. Speaking of Pokemon that had Levitate, Flygon gets to keep Levitate. And it got a 10-point stat boost in Gen 7. Unfortunately, it didn't make it any better. But Flygon is here. Flygon is the ideal scouting Pokemon. Its move pool and its stats are just good enough to be able to have as like just a scouting lead to see what people might have on their Mons. Flygon is just a great Pokemon to scout out movesets. And that's what it's used a lot of the times for, is as a scout. So to recap round 8, Alolan Muck, Crobat, Toxicroak, Jirachi, Hydreigon, Umbreon, Gengar, and Flygon all go off the board. Interestingly enough, we had 4 poisons go this round.
I was just about to say that.
Brandon, what are some picks you like? What are some picks you don't like?
Oh, don't like. Oh yeah, I don't. Honestly, this might be the best round of, like, overall of the draft so far, because like everyone got something they needed, and like nothing was like redundant. Like, because the Umbreon pick, the worst, like if I was forced to pick one, probably Umbreon, because it can't hit offensively. But that's just what it, like, it just doesn't hit offensively, and that's fine.
I mean, it can with Curse.
But well, it can, but that requires a lot of setup. But honest picks that I do like, though, pretty much all of them. Gengar was probably the best of this round because he desperately needed a fast Mon. Too bad it's gone. But that's another video.
Alright, on to round 9. The Brookhaven Bayonets are going to pick up Klefki. We all know what Klefki does. It's a support Mon that sets up screens or uses swagger and foul play shenanigans like that.
Or play rough.
Yeah, or play rough. That's kind of what Klefki does. It doesn't really do much of else, but it's a good Mon that you don't necessarily want to deal with because Prankster.
Wait, is Prankster swagger illegal or no?
I don't think it's illegal. It's illegal. I don't think it's in the rules. I can't remember. On to round 9. The Bluffton Beehives are gonna grab Cofagrigus. I do not like this pick. I understand he wanted a wall. He just grabbed Gengar. Cofagrigus does next to nothing for him. I know that Gengar's gone, but his speed tiers are looking real bad right now. Even with Gengar, if he were to keep it, his speed tiers are looking real bad.
Oh, I cannot wait for the team breakdown video. That's gonna be a fun one.
On to the St. James Slowbro. He's going to pick up Ditto, which gives him a reverse sweeper. Brandon, why don't you tell a little bit about Ditto?
So Ditto always holds Choice Scarf because it comes in with Imposter, unless if it's a substitute, transforms into the opponent, and basically just, it's really good for scouting sets that way because you get all 4 moves, and basically you can just whack your opponent with whatever they were going to use to whack you with. So yeah, it's good for scouting, but it's really good on either like hyper offense teams or like stall teams, but most of the time hyper offense, which he kind of doesn't have a ton of in terms of the hyper offense factor. I mean, Ditto's a good pick, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's just a little odd. It takes a lot of skill to use well, though. I will say that.
Alright. On to the next pick, which is Alomomola. Now this gives him another Regenerator Mon, or this gives him a Regenerator Mon as well as a Cleric. Alomomola has a lot of HP. Scald. Not really much more to say about Alomomola. Like I said, a Cleric. That's kind of all Alomomola does, is just sit there and be annoying.
But God, it does it well.
Yep. I would like to see him maybe pick up a more offensive water type, but we'll see. On to the independent Registeals. He is going to pick up Incineroar. We know what Incineroar does. It's bulky. It's got a great typing in Dark Fire. It hits incredibly hard on the offensive side, and Darkest Lariat is one of the most underrated signature moves in all of Pokemon.
Doesn't it also have Intimidate now?
Yes, it also does have Intimidate, because we are allowing the secondary moves for the starters.
Abilities, yeah. Haven't those been released already in-game or no?
I can't remember, but we're allowing it.
I thought they were, but okay.
So yeah, not much more to say on Incineroar. He did choose this as a Z user, so we do know that Z Darkest Lariats, I forget what the move is called, are coming in the future.
Yeah, it looks awesome in-game, though, I've seen.
Alright,
I forget what it's called, though.
So on to your pick. You're going to pick a Bronzong that gives you a Fire immunity, which you don't necessarily need, and a Ground immunity, which would be much more appreciated. A Spinner, Gyro Ball, Explosion, Trick Room.
It doesn't spin, by the way.
Oh, it doesn't spin, that's right.
It does everything else you mentioned, though.
It sets rocks.
It's bulky. Yeah. Basically, it's bulky, it floats. Heat Proof can give me a fire, like, basically cancel out the fire weakness if I want to. I would rather have Levitate, though. That just gives me a straight immunity to that. And later on, you'll know that Heat Proof is kind of obsolete on this thing, but...
Anyways.
But yeah, it sets up rocks. Yeah, it does all that nice good stuff for support, which is why I picked it.
We're going to move on to Pokecrafter's pick of Mamoswine. We all know what Mamo does. Mamo can sometimes run Freeze Dry just to get waters that don't have a lot of special defense, although you're not going to invest a lot of special attack into Mamo. Scarf, Life Orb, even
Focus
Assault
Sash.
Vest, Focus Sash, sets rocks, Ice Shard, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, Rock Slide, super powered. Mamoswine's just a really good mon. And gives him another offensive pressurer, other than Machamp, Megalotti, and Crobat. Not to say that mons like Bulu or Heatran won't be run offensively, but they're typically more defensive than offensive.
Yeah.
On to my pick, which, as you stated before, I picked up Mismagius. Now, I know I picked up a Ghost before, but my plan here was to grab Cofagrigus. Mismagius gives me a Defogger, more ground immunity because my team is incredibly weak to ground types, another Trick User, more special defensive bulk, hits hard on the special defensive side, and has, what, 105 base speed?
Yeah, it does, 105. Which is pretty good.
So, yeah.
That's good for these 100s.
That's why Mismagius is there. As you can see with my team, there are a lot of plus 100 or around 100 mons on my team.
Yep.
Because I've been bitten in the butt before with speed tiers. So,
Same.
round 9 recap. We have Klefki, Cofagrigus, Ditto, Alamamola, Incineroar, Bronzong, Mamoswine, and Mismagius. Brandon, what are some picks you don't like, and what are some picks you do like?
As for don't, I'd probably have to say Kofag, because why does he need another guy? And he picked up a better one in Gengar, but yeah, we'll get to that in the team breakdown video. But anyways, I mean, besides Mummy, which of course is actually pretty good, but the picks I do like, there's a lot of good ones. I'd probably either have to...
I'm sorry, your mic cut out. Brandon? Hello? Alright, well, we're gonna move on. I don't know what happened to Brandon's mic, or if Discord died, but we're gonna keep going. If he's not around, hopefully he comes back in. Yeah, we're gonna move on, because this is taking far too long. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm back. Sorry about that. I said for this round, probably Mamoswine or Bronzong would probably be the top picks.
Okay, fair enough.
More leaning towards Mamo, though, because Mamo's just insane.
On to round 10, I'm gonna finally pick up a dragon, and one doozy of a dragon. Celamence is still around, gives me a Moxie user, gives me Intimidate user, and yet another ground type immunity. Want to share a little bit about Salamence, Brandon?
Overall, it does a lot of great things. It has Intimidate if you want to go just lowering attack. Moxie if you feel particularly sweepy and kind of win more-ish. It's a dragon that hits hard, so especially on the physical side, but more physical than special. Again, yeah, the ground immunity. It just does a lot really well. Of course, don't get it near ice.
Yeah. But it is worth noting that this team does have quite a few checks to ice.
That's true. Or at least ice types.
Yep.
But anyways.
On to Pokecrafter. He's going to pick up Slurpuff. We know what this thing does. It can set up webs. It can be special with like specs. It can be AV. It can be Belly Drum, Sweepy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Slurpuff is a Mon that is incredibly diverse for Tier 4. It's just that it kind of dies because it's slow.
Yeah, unless if it's the Unburdened Belly Drum set.
On to your pick. You're going to pick up Ludicolo. I think we're now settled into Rain, sir.
Yeah, this was kind of the pick where I started to just be blatant with them. Like, yeah. If you noticed, a lot of my picks did have a bit of had to look deeper into it. This one's more blatant. Like, yeah, it's just kind of there. I mean, I could do bulky subseed shenanigans with Rain Dish, or I can just sweep with Swift Swim and Life Orb.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a grass type on a rain team, and with Swift Swim, which is, I think it's the only one that exists.
Yeah, it's the only grass water that exists.
That and it's budget friendly too for me, so
yep.
There's that.
Alright, on to Delmise. Delmise, he picked this up because he was desperate for a grass and desperate for a spinner and desperate for a ghost. Not really much else to say. You only draft Delmise if you're desperate for those things. It's slow, it's bulky on the physical side, it hits fairly hard, but it's too slow to really take advantage of any of those things.
Yeah.
Onto the Arizona.
It's not terrible, but it's not the best either.
Onto the Arizona Arcanines. He's gonna pick up Mesprit. Mesprit is kind of weird for me because it's not offensive like Azelf and it's not defensive like Uxie. So I don't really know what Mesprit does. I mean, I know it can trick, but other than that, I don't really remember what Mesprit does off the top of my head. So Brandon, if you wanna
on the lower tiers, it sets up weather with the rocks. It's the balanced one of the trio, so it can either hit okay offensively, but it can also be an okay wall as well. I believe its signature move of the three, I think, is Healing Wish, which it kills itself and then brings in an ally at full health. So there's that. This one cannot explode, which kind of sucks, but anyways. It also levitates, so it gives him another ground immunity, which of course is always good. And overall, it's going to be kind of annoying. Alright. It can also set up Trick Room, which for a little whack earlier hurts a lot.
Yeah.
If that goes off.
And not to mention Beware.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, so on to the next pick. We're going to go. Jason is going to pick up Infernape. Once again, as stated before, Infernape is one of those tier 1.5 mons like Zeraora, but it's much more diverse. Its move pool is much more open-ended. It has, it's more even on its attacking stats being both the same. It's got the same attack and the same special attack. It gets a load of priority, Fake Out, Mach Punch, Vacuum Wave. It gets some setup options. It can even set rocks if he wants it to. Infernape is just
kind of amusing.
A great Pokemon.
Yeah, no complaints. Besides the fact that it can do everything at once.
On to the Bluffton Beehives. Amp is going to pick up Primarina. And that will do some things for his knockoff weakness. But I do not remember if it's a Z Pokemon or not off the top of my head. If it's a Z Pokemon, then yeah, because Z Primarina hurts. Z Moonblast, Z Oceanic Alberetta, Z Hydro Pump hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Not much more to say on that mod. Speaking of the Lake Trio, Uxie's going to go to Lunatic. Like we said before, Uxie is the defensive one, can set rocks as well. It also has Trick Room. It's just a great mon, and it's got a lot of really good coverage. So, on to round 10. To recap, we have Salamence, Slurpluff, Ludicolo, Dhelmise, Mesprit, Infernape, Primarina, and Uxie. Brandon, what are some picks you like?
Yes.
What are some picks you do not like?
Picks I don't like, this is gonna sound weird, but I'm gonna say Uxie on this one. It's not that it's bad, that it gets out pressured pretty easily and doesn't really do anything offensively. And I mean, in terms of budget efficiency, probably Ludicolo, but overall as a pick, probably Salamence is my favorite.
Yeah, fair enough. Considering my team needs as much help as it can get in avoiding ground type attacks, it's definitely I think the best pick this round. On to the Brookhaven Bandits. Speaking of ground immunities, they're gonna pick up Braviary. Braviary, not much else to say. This mon is probably gonna go for bandit attacks and not really do much anything else. Maybe Scarf, maybe Life Orb, but I doubt Life Orb.
Yeah.
This mon just hits real hard. That's about all it does.
You can also Tailwind if he really wants to.
Yep. On to the Bluffton Beehives. We're gonna hit Mega Heracross. We already know what Mega Heracross does. Pin Missile, Bullet Seed, Rock Blast, maybe U-Turn.
Yeah.
That's
Nobody
sorry.
loses speed upon Mega Evolution.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
But it's bulky enough that it doesn't necessarily need that speed.
Yeah, that's true.
On to the St. James Slowbro. They're gonna pick up Bibarel. I think this is a meme pick. I don't know. I don't know why this mon was picked. I mean, it gives him another water, but it's not a good water at that.
Actually, I'm gonna disagree with you on that. The thing is, I did some research. It actually can stealth rock. So the fact that it's a stealth rocker that beats other stealth rockers, most of them, except for like the steel ones, basically. I think this is honestly one of the more underrated picks of this round.
Okay.
Because the fact that it can stealth rock is just absolutely crazy.
Alrighty.
And the fact that it's 40 points and it's not a rock type itself.
Alrighty. On to the next pick. The Arizona Arcanines pick Rotom Frost. This is one of his Z captains. It is worth noting Z Blizzard hurts a lot. As we said before, the Rotoms do kind of the same thing. They can trick. They can, be a Z user with their special moves. They can defog, although Rotom Frost isn't the best defogger. So
because it's weak to rocks.
Yeah. So that's why Rotom Frost is there. Not much else more to say on Rotom Frost.
Don't know why you picked it as a Z captain though. I felt like you had better options.
Z Blizzard, yeah, I agree, but Z Blizzard hurts a lot. On to the next pick.
That's true.
We have the Mega Pidgeot for the Independent Registeels. Now this gives him 3 flying types, with 1 being neutral to fighting. I don't like this Mega, but I can see why he picked it. It's relatively bulky, hits really hard on the special side, is pretty fast. I mean, there's not really much more to say. He's not going to use it as a defogger because it's weak to defog, or it's weak to rock, so I don't know why
this is the third normal type.
Yeah, also the third normal type. I don't know. On to your pick, and as I said before, weather is apparent as you pick up Pelipper.
Oh, yes.
Everyone know what Pelipper does. It is the best
Drizzle
user in the game. Other than, well, excluding, obviously, Kyogre, but...
Kyogre, yeah. The best legal setter. Yeah, but basically, this is like what my team's pretty much revolving around, because everything benefits in some way or another.
Except for Arcanine, but you got rid of that.
Yeah, I pretty much immediately drafted, because I actually didn't draft that. Because I took over for another coach that left. And I was only allowed to replace either replace the tier 2 with Ferrothorn or replace Arcanine as a tier 3, and I figured I could pick up my actual tier 3 later. And I was correct in that judgment. So overall I benefited a lot.
On to Pokecraft.
It's just crazy.
On to Pokecrafter. He gets Ninjask, gives him some speed control, another possible baton passer for speed. Machamp with speed, Slurpuff with speed are both really scary.
I'm curious, if it uses Dig and someone uses Earthquake on it, will it get hit or no?
I think it gets hit. I think it loses its flying typing when it is underground. Don't quote me on that, though.
Huh. I'll have to test that at some point.
On to my pick. I'm going to pick up my second water and Lapras. It gives me an ice type, a bulky Pokemon, freeze dry user, body slam. Lapras is actually, surprisingly, if you look into Lapras, actually has quite a diverse move pool. It gets Thunderbolt, it gets Psychic. It's just an all-around pretty underrated tier 5 Mon.
Yep.
So, to recap round 11, we have Braviary, Mega Heracross, Bibarel, Rotom Frost, Mega Pidgeot, Pelipper, Ninjask, and Lapras. Brandon, what are some picks that you like? What are some picks you do not like?
Mega Heracross for don't like. Mega Heracross probably wasn't the best Mega to pick. I mean, if you did it for point's sake, that's fine, but still, there probably was better options. Just the fact that it loses speed, like, that just kind of represents that whole team in a nutshell. It's a bit of a sad case, but anyways. In terms of what I do like, Bibarel is an insane tier 5, as I said before, because the fact that it can just set up rocks and is competent. And Pelipper, I kind of have to pick that because that kind of makes my team work. Pretty much.
Yeah. Alright, so on to round 12. My last pick is going to be Mega Sceptile. That gives me a grass, that gives me another ground resistance, gives me a quad resistance to water, which I didn't necessarily need, but it definitely helps things like Nihilego and Entei out. As long as he's Mega Evolved, it's a quad resist. He's also weak to ice, so I have to be wary of ice coverage for both of my dragons, but
it's immune to electric.
It's immune to electric.
So that helps.
It's immune, so that gives me another electric immunity. It is the fastest Pokemon, I believe, that was drafted.
Yeah, by default.
So, as you can see, the speed tiers for my team are pretty immaculate.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Best in the league, but anyways.
And not to mention, Sceptile's known for being a special tagger, but base 110 attack is nothing to, like, sleep on. If I wanted to run Swords Dance, Drain Punch, Leaf Blade, Dragon Claw, I could.
Yeah.
So, that's why I picked up Mega Sceptile. Another one of those slept-on Mons. I might not end up keeping it, we'll see. I don't know. Pokecrafter, obviously you know, he was gonna pick up the baby form of his mascot with his last pick. He picks up Sneasel. Sneasel is a mini Weavile that can run a Violite. Not really much more to say about it. You know what Weavile does. Sneasel basically does the same thing. Brandon, I think we saw this coming with you starting to draft Rain. You're gonna pick up Mega Pert.
Yeah, base 140 that has a ground type stab and earthquake in the rain with waterfall. Yeah, with Swift Swim I couldn't pass that up.
All right,
Just kind of my ace in the hole.
Not much to say about Mega Pert. On to the independent Registeals. Another water ground is drafted Quagsire. I think that Mon's a slept on tier 5.
Oh, that thing was a tier 5?
Oh no, it was tier 4, my bad.
Oh, I was gonna say, my god.
It's slept on tier 4. It's really bulky. Doesn't really do much of anything else. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows what Quagsire does. It just kind of sits there. The Arizona Arcanines pick up Leafeon. That gives them finally a grass Wish Passer, just like Alamamola. I don't really know what else to say about Leafeon. That's kind of all it does.
Yeah.
It's got really high physical defense, and it can Wish Pass. On to St. James Slowbro. He's going to get Silvally, and Silvally gets access to all forms. So, it's there, but 95 across the board is not good.
Yeah.
If it was 100 across the board, you would be like, oh, that's not that big of a difference. 5 points?
Insane.
No, 5 points is a massive difference. 5 points is a massive difference.
If that thing had 100 across the board, it would be 2-1 easy.
Yeah.
In League, anyway.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, this is honestly about where it should be picked up within a draft.
Yeah, super late in the draft.
Yeah, I gotta give props to him for timing on it, at least.
Yep. Alright, on to the Bluffton Beehives. Their last pick is going to be Probopass. I don't know what to say about this Mon. I mean, it gives him another Steel and a Rock.
Stealth Rocker.
Stealth Rocker.
Magnet Pull. Gives Earth Power.
Yeah, I don't know about this one.
I think he ended up dropping this too, so...
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter a whole lot.
And as you can see, his speed tiers are terrible. His fastest Mon after he drops Gengar is Rotom Heat.
No, is Rotom Heat 85?
I can't remember.
I know KB is 95, so at least it's 95.
It might be KB then. I thought KB was only 90. My bad.
KB is 95.
Okay.
So nothing cracks 100, and all of his FAs are gone. Rip speed tiers, but we'll see.
Oh well. Hopefully it doesn't bite him in the butt like it always bites me in the butt when I don't have good speed tiers. As you can see, my speed tiers are amazing. I think my average speed is like 110, which is insane.
Yeah, I'll calculate it at some point.
The Brookhaven Bayonets, their last pick is Wormadam. I chose Grass just because I randomly chose one, but he gets access to all Wormadam forms. Let's be honest, he's probably gonna be bringing.
Great.
He's probably gonna be bringing trash. Probably not much else. Yeah, trash or sand. I mean, he got it for the versatility, really, and the fact that it's a bug type. I don't even remember what it does.
And there's anticipation to sense critical hits, but okay. I mean, it's not great in any of its stats. So, Wormadam misses irrelevant for this draft.
Alright, so round 12 recap. We have Mega Sceptile, Sneasel, Mega Swampert, Quagsire, Leafeon, Silvally, all of them, Probopass, and Wormadam, all of them. So, Brandon, what are some picks that you like? What's some picks you don't like? I know at least one of the picks you're going to say that you like, so...
Really, what do you think I'm gonna say?
Yours.
Oh, I was gonna say both the megas I do like because if you can reasonably pick up a good mega last round, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
But as for don't like Leafeon, I I don't get why this pick happened. His team, honestly, like it doesn't look impressive at first, but you start digging deep into it, and it's actually kind of crazy. Like this is like the only like weak link of the team, and the fact that that weak link, I mean, I say weak link, it might end up destroying somebody, who knows, but the fact that like this is his weakest mon, that should say a lot.
Yeah. I definitely don't disagree. I think I like both the megas. I actually really like the Sneasel pick, because it's mini Weavile, and Weavile's always a threat. I don't like the Leafeon. I don't like the Wormadam just because I don't really know what Wormadam does. I don't think it does that much.
One too. It doesn't do a whole lot because its base stats are.
I like Leafeon. I just want to get this out there. Leafeon is my third favorite evolution behind Jolteon and Umbreon, respectively.
I forgot to mention Wormadam, but yeah, Leafeon is much better than that. I will give it that.
Yeah, the issue with
Leafguard if he wants to go Sun.
Yeah, the issue with Leafeon that I've always run into is that it's easily scouted.
Yeah, a little bit.
And easily lured. Other than that, so our Z captains, I couldn't remember. Z captains for the Brookhaven Bayonets are Zeraora and Blacephalon. The Bluffton Beehives have chosen to Z captain Necrozma and Kieran Black. The St. James Slowbros have chosen to Z captain Landorus Therian and Venomoth. I don't necessarily know about those. The Arizona Arcanines have chosen to Z captain Scolipede and Rotom Frost. Once again, don't necessarily know about those. The Independent Registeals have Z captain Garchomp and Incineroar. Makes sense. Brandon, you have Z captain Tapu Koko and Tornadus Eye. That makes sense. The Wyndham Weaviles have decided to Z captain Tapu Bulu and Heatran. I don't know about that one, but really he doesn't really have any mons that like abuse Z moves on his team, so I can understand that. I don't know
about Heatran, but I can see Bulu because Guardian of Alola.
And yeah, and I will Z captain Celements and Cobalion because really both of those mons are insane with Z crystals. So we'll move on to my rankings of the team. We're gonna do a full-on draft analysis video at some point in the future, but for now, we'll give you just some placeholder rankings. I'm not gonna go into depth, but as I said before, Amp's team is incredibly. I'm gonna start with the three lowest. Amp's team is incredibly weak to knockoff. That's why he's there. St. James Slowbros, I don't like some of their picks. I don't think they have very good synergy. And then the whole Amp thing with the speed tiers being terrible as well.
I was about to say.
The Independent Registeals, 3 normal types. That's all I gotta say. My
ratings? Oh, do you want me to explain them?
No. Sorry, I got interrupted real quick. So the Brookhaven Bayonets I think is a good solid team, but it's sand without a lot of sand abusers. Your team is rain, so it's just kind of rain. Not really much to say. My team is, even though I have a lot of immunities, is incredibly weak to ground. So, the Arcanines and the Weaviles are both just fat. And and it's not like they don't have mons that can't break. They're just fat.
Yeah.
Brennan, you can go into a little bit deeper depth if you want to on your rankings, but that's essentially where I'm stopping my in-depth stuff at.
Yeah, I'll go very, very much in depth in whenever draft analysis video we do. I have a bit similar to what you did, but I think Poke straight up has no bad mons on his team. He has no like wasted team slots because like I put him above the Arcanines only because like there's like the Leafeon pick which I kind of don't get, and like Mesprit probably could have been something a little better. Poke doesn't have any of those. Like straight up, his team is just out of the park. All of them are just insane. And Amp, why I rated him the lowest was because I personally used a team that pretty much hit sub 100 speed tiers. The only thing I had above base 95 was Jolteon at 130, and yeah, you just get absolutely destroyed by a lot if you don't have good speed tiers. And yeah, he just completely disregarded speed tiers. I mean, we'll see how he does, but I'm very skeptical to say the least. Like, very skeptical if he's going to do well. The only reason I rated myself slightly higher than what you did is I personally have a lot of weather experience. I use weather teams a lot, and that's just kind of my passion. And my logo I'm having done is the Washington Weather Wizards. So yeah, that just kind of makes sense for me.
Why don't you? Yeah, no, I understand. Why don't you? Because I don't think my team is very. I think it's good. I don't think it's that good. Why don't you explain why you ranked me among all teams as second highest?
Your speed tiers are just absolutely one. That's probably the biggest compliment I have to give to your team. But also, your mons do a lot of individual things very well. My only problem I can see with your team is mainly, like, they might not gel the best together, but you have a lot of mons that just do good things by themselves. And that is worth a lot. Basically the opposite of my team.
Yeah.
Because my team requires, like, one or two things to stay alive in order for everything to just go absolutely ballistic.
Alright, so we want...
You have consistency on your side.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining today. That is going to be all for us. There will be on my channel. I will upload this because I'll take